Hello, so I wanted to go over some of the fun projects that we learned this month. Starting with this project, I decided to do the tree scene. And of course, I set up the scene according to the key points that we needed to have, as far as with the tree, the apple, the water fountain or the water well here, and then the bow and arrow against the little barrel here. I really did like having a little bit of creative flow to create like the rock path going through here. So overall, it was a really fun project. The next project that we did was the Nafidi camera project, which were matching the cameras according to the originals to make sure that we had the head-on shots. So this was a little time consuming, but overall it was a learning experience that I definitely needed and I appreciated. So in the 2.3, this one we were getting into more of the video aspect and creating a complete circle wraparound of Frederick with the lights rotating around him as well to show a shadow in the background right about here. My favorite of this project was the spaceship or the space station. Now, this was a lot of fun to create the camera going in at a constant space and then starting to twist closer we get to the final scene. I had a lot of fun for this month. And then we started to go into the vehicles, which was the start of the rendering process. And thought it was really cool to see how we could take the image from Maya and actually make it into an image that you could upload and create. And they came out really well. I like the wire frame of this project because it definitely shows more depth and movement into wireframes. And then after we did the vehicle, we started into the storytelling. In the storytelling, we learned what different lights there were, like the butterfly light, the Rembrandt light, and the split light. My favorite was definitely the Rembrandt light because I like how it kind of glows off of her nose, gives a little bit of a glow on her cheek, makes it a very good image. So I decided I was going to take that and take it to the final project. And so after we learned about the lighting and we created the nightlight illumination, that was really interesting to see how it corresponded into the image with the shadows and the lights. And so we decided we were going to take the camera and make the final scene. With the final scene, I had a lot of creative flow to add a lot of different lights. So I added one behind the door and a couple behind the lights, and another one kind of down towards the bottom, facing up towards her face to give a nice little highlight around her. And I thought this was a lot of fun to be able to create whatever color I wanted, the contrast of the lights. I wanted this one to show like it was kind of back in the corner of the room shining out, and I wanted these to look like they were lights really close to the windows, like maybe just a lamp, a blue lamp. So when I decided to take that and we were going to make the final image, I noticed that when I turned it on, it made her look really white. So the light that was down here, I decided I was going to move it up a little bit, and then I created more of a hue and color contrast so that when it beamed onto her, you would see more of a warm light and more of a skin color instead of like a white color. I also decided to take this light right here and add kind of a green hint to go around her face and around her head and around her arm, just to give a little bit of the contrast to the blue windows here. And then I added another light just so that she could have a little bit of a light around her face. So it wasn't so much of a split, but of the Rembrandts, since I definitely like the Rembrandts. And then in the 4.1, we learned of the colors of the monochromatic color, the complementary color. And with that, I decided to go forth and play around with the colors. So in this one, I decided to do a light green, a bluish purple, and then a bluish green here. Thought it accent really well with having the darker color come around the cheekbone and around the shoulder here. And then in this one, I decided I was going to choose the pinkish purplish light here and then green and a gold color, so I think it accents very well with the dark black background. This one, however, was definitely my favorite because I liked the gold matched with the blue. Thought it looked really cool. And then of course with this one, I just played around and tried to make more of the highlights. Here, darker shadows, and they're all the same color, just different tint and different tones and a little bit of different shades. So we did go into Photoshop and we decided we were going to add some more depth into the picture with creating with shades and shadows and blurs. And with the blur, I wanted to blur out kind of the background with the light so it had more of a focal point on her. Blur out some of the door and around the telescope so that you're more focused on her face than you are staring into these bright blue lights back here. I thought that turned out really cool because I had a little bit, you could tell a little bit of the difference here and then a little bit of the different here. Whoops. So with the final render and the camera effect, you can see the blur of the lights. You can see the blur of the door. So it just feels like it gives a lot more depth into the image. So overall, I definitely learned quite a bit as far as with the cameras and the lighting. Now I'm able to take it to any sort of movie that I'm watching or cartoon, and I can see how they apply the lights. So overall, I think it would have been this video here is one of my favorites, and also with the freedom of being able to create different lighting for the final render was definitely my favorite. Well,